You got to love it here in the city. Our heart beats stronger.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip, brought to you by your boys over at Top Line Media, as well as this show is presented by From Financial. We cannot be happier to have them on board, and we're working on a fun post-game segment to really draw out the deep thinkers in this community around the From Financial sponsorship. That's coming soon. We're working on that. But you don't want to hear me ramble. You guys, the chat is lively tonight. The chat is pumped, and how could you not be? The Winnipeg Jets put up a touchdown. They convert the two-pointer and only let up a rouge, 8-1 in this hockey game against the Boston Bruins on home ice, just what the doctor ordered. Mikey, get in here, man. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good. The vibes are gonna be high in this one. The chat is already buzzing. That was a fun one. And as a you can boo me for it, but as a lifelong Habs fan, nothing makes me happier than seeing the Boston Bruins get smacked around. So that was great. I absolutely loved that tonight. And let's get into it.
Yeah, who doesn't enjoy watching franchises from Boston get spanked around? I mean, that is a city that's won championship after championship, and I hate to admit it, but I was riding with one of their teams for a bit. Good. It feels good to be on the clobbering side of a Boston Bruins team. And Mikey, you know what that means, right? Before we get into this show's missing one thing.
Let's go.
8-1 tonight. Tuesday night, 8-1. Boy, does that feel good. Every chance we get to throw it on. I'm just going to jump in the chat here and answer Lucas Track quickly, who asks, does anyone have a link to all the fights? I missed the first ones, only saw Lowry's. Head on over to hockeyfights.com. Look up the Jets fights. They should be on there by now. But yeah, this game had a bit of all. The top line goes off for 4 5-on-5 goals. The second power play unit adds 2 themselves, both off Neil Pionk shots. Chibrikov gets the call-up. Buries tonight in a pretty impressive debut, I think.
Yep.
And Jeremy Swayman, after sitting out demanding the big bucks, helped to push the goalie market, and I'll always respect somebody doing that. Sure didn't look worth the big bucks in this one. Mikey, what's your big takeaways leaving this game here tonight?
This was it was a classic game from the top line for the Winnipeg Jets. They were, the architects of this win by far. It was nice to see, Swayman have to eat all those goals tonight. That's got to be painful for him coming back after that. But I love to see it. It makes me real happy. I love Kyle Connor. Everybody knows that. So anytime seeing him have a game like he had tonight, Josh Morrissey, we'll get into all of it, but it was just fun. It was a fun game. Every once in a while you're going to get these just over the top, blowout games, all the fights, some questionable hits, maybe some calls from player safety. We'll see. But overall, this was just a fun game. I think that the Jets needed. It was needed for the fans. It was needed probably for the guys on the ice, and hopefully, it's one they can build from.
I agree. This did feel like a spot the Winnipeg Jets really needed it. Obviously, we've been talking a lot lately, and things have been a struggle in Winnipeg. And oddly, this was one I felt comfortable with. If you remember on the technical difficulty show, I'd said that this team was going to go 3-4 in their next stretch, and they'd probably see a spark from the top line, and we would just kind of keep rolling things the way they are going to roll.
Yep.
Now, I'll let you decide if that's a good thing or not, but on a night like tonight, it is feeling too good to focus on the future and what that means for it. Yeah, they show up, put up 4. I mean, Mark Scheifele, wrist, hand, or shoulder. There were some rumblings it might have been the shoulder, not the hand.
Interesting.
Sure looked pretty healthy on those one-timers today. A lot better, no fans, no wide misses, just right through the mesh and the goaltender. How'd you feel? I know I was on the crowd that was seeing a bit of the signs. I know you were still not there. How'd you feel about 55 tonight?
A lot better offensively. A lot better offensively. At the beginning, it still looked a little bit rough when I think things were still just warming up. So I was going to be like, oh, no, is it still? But very quickly, he kind of put that off. So if that is going to be what it builds off of from here going forward, awesome. That's exactly the Mark Scheifele that we need here in Winnipeg. But I do need to see it for more than one game because, again, could be that he got some real good shots today. Got the hand iced up or the shoulder iced up real good for the Don Sweeney revenge game in town. Because if he looks the same again in the next game coming up, that's what's going to determine it for me.
I know. I can't believe. I mean, the one thing we know about Mark Scheifele is that man's pretty good at holding a grudge against hockey ops people that have turned him down or walked away from him. I'm pissed at myself for not betting on a Mark Scheifele goal with Sweeney in the house today.
Oh, yeah, that would be an easy one to take for sure. Mark Scheifele revenge game is always a smash. Get that one anytime you can.
Yeah, 100%. I like this takeaway too. I think this is important to at least consider on a night like this. And I'm going to get over to YouTube right away here. Zooch 40 with a paragraph that he's getting bugged on by Jay Pix and Donnie Fester. A couple of the chat members might have had a few too many beers and don't want to be reading a lengthy paragraph. But I do think this is an interesting point, and a point we've seen the Winnipeg Jets be on the other side of this at times too. So Zooch 40's biggest takeaway today, as we talk about takeaways leaving this one, was my biggest takeaway from tonight isn't really Jets related, more so league related. I think the reason so many teams this year are struggling are the condensed schedules due to the Four Nation faceoff. If you look at the Bees, they rarely give up more than 3 goals, and they look super tired and slow tonight. What do you think of that?
My instinct initially is like, yeah, it is much more condensed right now because of Four Nations, but like we've had so many seasons of like the Olympics mid-season or World Cup of Hockey, pushing the season start late. So, it is a bit more condensed right now, but I think it's something that most of these guys have been through and have handled. I think just the fact that we have a couple expansion teams now in the league, and guys are just getting better and better right across the entire NHL, just kind of like as a league skill wise. You just get more of these type of games now where, there's not just the one dominant, one or two dominant teams anymore. We talked about it, I think, a few landing strips back, but there, as the season goes on this year, there isn't just that dominant team that just, rolls everybody. Now you can kind of sneak out a win against anybody.
Yeah, and it is one of those things, right? We know the Jets have had quite the grind, and every team is going to have to go through stretches like that. I do think this year we will see stretches where every team in the league is struggling because of that aspect. For a lot of guys, especially the ones not going, that 2 weeks is probably going to be pretty big for the group. Yeah, Donnie Fester jumps in with Zooch 40. Now that Nick read it for us, I'd say that they're just fat and out of shape. Boston did look tired and out of shape in this one, but that didn't stop them from wanting to mix it up. I see Jay Pix talking about Sidney Sweeney. Did you see the St. Louis Blues overrated social media content today? If not, if you're a Sidney Sweeney fan, you might not be happy with Matthew Joseph. I recommend the read. But you know what? There's a lot to talk about tonight. There's some scraps. The top line goes nuclear. Chibrikov comes up. Lambert goes down. I'm sure we're going to discuss that.
Yep.
Chibrikov buries. I think this was a night where we had some disappointing Cole Perfetti calls. I thought he had a solid game in this one, personally.
Yep.
Obviously, the offense shows up, a multi-goal power play game. Let's turn this show over to the chat and the phone lines. I'm going to start jumping into YouTube, Mikey, as you get that ready. Toronto Sports Network starts the night off with Hola Amigos. Nice to see you here, as usual. Great to be a part of it. Doug Henderson is ready to rumble. And I got to say, he definitely was ready to rumble in this one. Doug in the chat, despite all the talk going on in the market, he walks in with a Logan Stanley jersey today, and I got to respect him for it.
Wow.
He wore that thing confidently and proudly. He was calling for a scrap, and it happened. Shout out Doug on this night. Got to see what he wanted in this one.
Doug Stradamus. Right on.
What's that?
Doug Stradamus. Calling the Stanley fight and
Stradamus.
Everything. Right on. I like it.
Yeah, up
What
in
did,
312. He was hoping for it tonight, and he got it. We see. Let's go there first. Let's go there because I hate how this starts.
Yep.
Trent Frederic, who's a guy I think it's probably a name we're gonna discuss in a couple months about a playoff type ad. He's gonna probably meet some trade blocks should the Boston Bruins continue their struggle. This is the type of player I think a lot of people would love to have on their team. What he does as an experienced scrapper to David Gustafsson of all people, absolute bush league in my eyes. And that starts the whole chain reaction of what's to come. We see Logan Stanley immediately answer that with, was that my boy? 47. Is he wearing 47 in Boston? Couldn't believe I saw him scrapping. Was that Hampus?
In which one? No.
The Stanley. Who's number 47 in Boston?
Stanley's
That was
fighting.
at the other end of the ring for him. Oh, Mark Kastelik.
Kastelik.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Makes a lot more sense. Mark Kastelik immediately fights Stanley. Pretty good tilt after the $1 from Trent Frederic to David Gustafsson, who I imagine ain't feeling so hot after that punch. That was one of those ones that's hard to be in the building and see.
Yep.
A guy like that just buckle off the one shot.
Yeah.
And then we see Lowry, who, what was interesting being there, obviously, I believe they would have went to a commercial break. The sparks were flying as the refs were trying to organize this. We saw the coaches go at it in the building. We saw Adam Lowry go to the red line and absolutely be giving it to the Bruins bench. So much so, I thought him and Zadorov might not even wait for the next whistle, in which they do. So we see 3 scraps in a matter of, 1 second of gameplay there.
Yep.
What's your take on how this game ended, the 3 scraps we saw? And I know there's some hits that people aren't too thrilled about. So where are we at? Where are we at with some of the rough stuff at the end of this one?
The Trent Frederic, David Gustafsson one is the one that really is egregious to me. You've got a guy who is he is a legit, fighter on the ice. That is what, something he's been doing in the NHL since 2017. Like this isn't just 2 young guys who are like, hey, we're going to spark something up here because we're down, whatever. This was, somebody who saw a young guy who was trying to, carve out a spot for himself and took advantage of that because his team was playing like dog shit tonight. So that one is pretty gutless from a tough guy. You know what I mean? That's some bullshit, I think. The Adam Lowry, Stanley, I'm not really sure what happened on that one there. What
I
really
think that was Stanley, based on what I saw and how that developed.
jumping in for Gus,
To Stanley's credit, as soon as Gus went down,
Yeah.
he reacted pissed off and wanted to go somewhere, and Mark Kastelik was ready to go.
Yeah, so that's great, right? Like that's the response you want to see from the guys on the ice when something like that happens. So yeah, I think that's the right response. And then how do you feel about the Adam Lowry, Nikitia Zadorov? Like, is that Lowry's just pissed at the whole bench and Zadorov's the one who's going to answer the call for it? Is that what did you see there?
I think it's a few things. It's Lowry's pissed at Trent Frederic for fighting David Gustafsson, like that's one of those, especially a guy like Lowry who would understand the code, likely sees that as a violation of the code to be fighting a guy that has 0 career fights, thrown out there on the fourth line and doing that to him. So Lowry was like fired up. Lowry wanted a piece of anyone, and I imagine if he didn't fight Zadorov, if Frederic gets out on the ice and Lowry and him have a shift in the last couple of minutes, he was going after
Dropping
Frederic. The other aspect of this is that Zadorov and him get in each other's face at center ice while the linesmen and the refs are trying to figure this out. So, like, this was all preset. Zadorov's not someone to turn it down, and you got 2 big boys, 2 guys that were ready for it. I also do think part of that is once you see Lowry and Zadorov go, who else are you expecting to go? Like, that feels like okay, this is going to settle things in for the rest of the way here. Scrap of the bunch. Like, Frederic versus Gus obviously sets the tempo as, okay, this is bullshit. Let's respond. Stanley immediately responds with Kastelik. And then I feel like Lowry and Zadorov, that's the big boy fight to, you know what, this has been taken care of the rest of the night.
Get back to hockey
let's move on from here is how I kind of took that.
Makes sense. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy that it all happens within a second of actual gameplay, and it all kind of makes sense when you really stop to look at the situation in the game and what's happening on the ice, the game within the game.
And on that topic, I see over on YouTube, Trent Ferguson says, Laus was the one and only choice for captain. I'd follow that man into battle any day, all day. And it's definitely safe to say Lowry, both as a player, like I feel like since he's been named captain, this is probably our best stretch we've seen from him as a player since 17, 18, 19 type run. He embodies a lot of what this city feels and would approach life like at times. I think he really connects with that. It's safe to say he's been an excellent choice for captain, and I like Turd kind of shouting that out here.
Are we giving Bones the credit for unlocking Lowry, or is it going to be? Yeah,
we talked about that a few weeks ago. It was something I thought Bones leaves. Like I said, as much as I was ready for Bones to move on, and things had gotten stale, especially with this team offensively, which outside tonight still can be.
Yep.
I think Bones leaves Winnipeg with a solid legacy and what he did to turn this team around over a couple of years.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible when you look at the difference in players like Lowry and Morrissey compared to pre and post. And we're getting to reap the benefits of it now. And as HLL Living Loco Harrison in the chat on Twitch says, Lowry's great, and the team needs to maybe not rely on him to carry the game every night. And yeah, that's the recipe for success, right? Don't make them have to carry you, and let them just dominate those matchups when they can.
Yeah, and this wasn't a game I felt like Adam Lowry carried this one at all, to be honest. This was just a game where I saw the captain answer the bell when he needed to answer it. I thought this was not a rare game. They've had their stretches this year where the top line really showed up and carried this team offensively. We talked about Sweeney and Scheifele taking a message. I saw Zoosh 40 talking about Connor's saucer pass to Scheifele was beautiful, and the play that makes that whole thing, and we've talked about in recent shows, Gabe Vilardi getting more active within the O-zone, going from a guy that was kind of limiting himself to the net front to his own detriment. He's up in the slot, and he makes that back check to strip the puck, turn it over to Scheifele, or to Connor, who finds Scheifele. That was just a great effort from all 3 guys. It's the type of goal you want to see. And I thought that was emblematic of what you want to see that from the top line. As much as I'm not a believer that this Winnipeg Jets team will be successful with that group as their top line, a night like tonight is exactly what you want to see from them. That no notes. They put up 4, all at 5-on-5. Hey, shut it. All at 5-on-5. Scheifele buries 2 off 2 hard clappers, which you want to see just based on his health. I think that's a good sign tonight.
Yeah, we just need to make sure it's coming every night. That's the type of effort we need to see more often than not. They're just very all or nothing,
And let me correct myself. 3 5-on-5 goals. Obviously, Scheifele's 1 from Morrissey. which was a fucking ridiculous pass from Josh Morrissey as well, was a power play goal. That's my bad. Sometimes I get a little talk a little too quick and make a little detail error like that. But still, 3 goals at 5-on-5 from the top line.
Yep.
Exactly what you want to see.
We got our first call. You ready?
Yeah, let's talk.
Hey, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip.
Hey, Nick, Mikey, how's it going tonight? Just wanted to get your guys' opinion. I think Scheifele had probably one of his best games of the season. And really, I really liked the play he had on the Connor goal.
Yep.
The way he backed off after losing that face-off, got above options to be the third guy back defensively if necessary, and still was able to jump on that loose puck when Marchand was just really soft on that play, and then just strong down the wall. And that late hit on Zadorov kind of reminded me of the hit he had against Scheifele last year in Vancouver, I think it was, that 4-1 game where that top line also really dominated. And it just, like, for me, Zadorov is not a shutdown defenseman, and watching that Boston team tonight kind of embodied how he wants to play. Big, physical, likes to run around and hit guys, but doesn't really play the game of hockey, is more interested in just kind of being a physical force out there, which he can be, which can help you win hockey games, but when you're not interested in the puck, that kind of bites you in the rear end sometimes too.
No, for sure. On Mark Scheifele, I do agree this was one of his best games of the year. I'd put this up there, probably behind the Florida game, the second Florida game there, I believe it was, when the Jets kind of answered for how that first one went. And we know Mark Scheifele has a little bit of a history these last few years of answering the bell against a Paul Maurice coach team. I did think, and we've seen it, or I've kind of been talking about the last couple of games here, that it felt like he was kind of waking up and coming out from whatever was bugging him. Obviously, it's been clear he's been injured. He spent both games on the weekend taking all the penalties, and all the faceoffs, and I felt like he's been a lot more engaged. So, like, when you're talking about battles, when you're talking about him being above the puck in a spot to defend if needed, but he can create offensively. When Mark Scheifele's engaged in trying at both ends of the rink and trying to be that two-way player, more offense comes from Mark Scheifele. And Mark Scheifele, when he is engaged, is this team's most valuable forward. I thought this was a great night for him, and great to see, especially if he can build off this and he is going to be healthy down into the Christmas break here. As for Zadorov, I completely agree with you. And I feel like Boston got sucked into two players this summer that their reps kind of far outweighed what they really are. I look at Nikitia Zadorov, and I see a lot of the same things you do, where he's clearly out there to be a physical player. He's clearly out there trying to tip the scales in that aspect. And the one aspect of his game that is a little under talked about is, you know what, in the O-zone, he's going to put up some numbers. So he's a pretty good offensive D-man, but he's not shut down at all, and he gets cast as a shutdown D-man. I think he's a number 5 on a good team, and they paid him quite a bit to be a better guy than that, and it's great to see us take advantage of that. Elias Lindholm being the other guy, I think they really bought into a version of the player they believe existed because of guys like Goudreau and Kachuk. That's a guy that didn't stand out to me at all for how much they paid him to be a number 1 center tonight.
Yeah, I didn't really see much of the middle of their ice guys really making much of an impact on either side. I mean, like, you look at what their D did and just trying to basically hit anything that moved. Like, McAvoy was just that. I felt that hit he had on Chibrikov was a little early, honestly. Chibrikov didn't even have the puck. He was trying to make a play to get around the defender, and then just McAvoy comes in and clips him. He I don't know. I don't know if it's a philosophy from the Bruins to just be like, we need to be physical, we need to be physical, we need to be physical, and they're getting hammered on that from their coaching staff, or if these guys just really like running around and just hitting everything that moves. it was very strange to watch a team just almost ignore the puck and try and just smash everybody.
The old Bruins way, right? Yeah, it seems to be a bit of an identity for them, especially in a game like this where the Winnipeg Jets are absolutely hammering them, that things come undone. Good to see the Winnipeg Jets get out of that one. I mean, I'm thinking everyone's healthy. I didn't see any reports or anything afterwards. And hey, back on the scoreboard, back in the win column, 8-1. Feels pretty good tonight.
Oh, absolutely it does. I mean, like you walk out of there and they've got to be feeling really good about themselves right now. I mean, having that win, but you got to feel for Gus just taking that late hit after he went down on that first hit from Frederic. The guy is I don't know, he's struggling to stay in the lineup because they've really bought into what Kapari has been doing for them on that fourth line. But I mean, Gus he's been the good soldier. You don't hear a word of complaint about him. Like, oh, I need to get in the lineup. Oh, you guys need to trade me. You haven't heard any of it. It's just, oh yeah, I'm here. I'm ready when I need to be. And he gets in, and this guy just wants to fight him for. And he's not a fighter. Like he's never had. That was his first NHL fight I think he's ever had, and he drops him in one punch, and he wants to just hammer on him. Like that's outrageous in my mind. But yeah, I mean, that's a game you can walk away from. You can feel good about yourselves. You can take that forward, especially what the top line did, and try and carry that over into Vegas and see if you can string a couple wins here together.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call and all the thoughts tonight. Really appreciate you being here and part of the show. And it's hard to disagree. I absolutely hate how Trent Frederic handles that, especially as a guy that knows and is an experienced scrapper in the league, to grab David Gustafsson of all people when he can look at the Jets bench and know which guys would honor it with him, and he does that way. I just think it's a chicken shit move on his part, and really unfortunate that it leads to that.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But good talking with you guys. Still repping the Fraud Squad hoodie, and keep up the good work. Have a good night.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate the support. Glad to hear you're repping. And we'll definitely keep it coming. It's because great people like you are involved. So thank you for the call. Mikey, left you quiet over there. What do you think of everything we discussed? Anything stand out before I segue to the next convo that he has me wanting to move to?
No, you guys really hit it. That was you nailed it, especially the Frederic stuff. It's so infuriating to do that to a young guy who's never done it before, doesn't know what he's getting into. It's just, I'm still pretty pissed about it. And if it wasn't for the absolute thrashing that they took on the scoreboard, that would probably be part of the bigger story. But because the Jets went out and also just outclassed them in terms of goals, it gets buried a little bit. But yeah, fuck Trent Frederic. That guy sucks.
Absolutely. So, obviously, we talk about the top line. Put together a show with some great goals. Again, Josh Morrissey to Scheifele on the power play, big for me. The one goal that encapsulates what I want to see from that line. Velarde stripping in the O-zone, getting it to Connor, saucing it back to Scheif. All great things to see. But the thing we've been talking about in this stretch, and I see the chat's been talking about two of the guys tonight, and I agree with a lot of the chat. The Winnipeg Jets, because of the injuries, have some young guys in the lineup today.
Yep.
Let's go into that discussion for a little bit and what we saw from that group today. Let's start, though, where this all starts. Lambert gets sent down yesterday. Yeah. Chibrikov brought up. What is Mikey's initial thoughts on that before we move into what we saw from Chibrikov and my boy, Ville Heinola tonight?
The call-up's a little bittersweet, right? Real happy that Chibrikov getting a chance, getting to see what he looks like in a top six type of role with offensive players. It's something that he's earned with his play. So it's, that was great to see. I really like that. But I just wish it didn't have to be at the expense of Brad Lambert, unfortunately, who I thought was rounding into a pretty good game. I wonder if it's just that, they're auditioning different guys. They're just trying out, they've got time now being at home with the Moose are here, right? In this, well, not here, but like in the same building now. It makes it real easy to swap guys up and down on the roster like that. So, I'm hoping that it's a thing where Chibi will get a few games and maybe Lambert will come back up if Ehlers isn't ready quite yet. But if not, it might be Chibrikov's run until Ehlers is back now, especially if he keeps putting up multi-point efforts each game. What did you see? What did you think from him?
Just gonna shout out pseudonym Humerosa, also rocking Fraud Squad merch tonight. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, as for that situation, I don't have any hardline takes on it. I was surprised. It was funny actually. Right as that transaction happens, Ozzy from Financial had called me, and we were talking a little bit of Jets, some personal stuff and whatnot. And both of us on Friday when we talked, we were like, you kind of hope to see a little bit more from Lambert, which I think we saw in the first two games. He had a great first period, and then he kind of fizzled out. And it was kind of like, okay, it's a guy in his first stretch here. Let's see what the weekend brings. And I thought in a back-to-back against two lower-end teams, he had taken those strides. So I almost, on one hand, think that this almost feels like stopping and starting a guy. Like as he's progressed, now it's the goodbye. Now the flip side of that is sending him down with confidence, not going down, not feeling like he cannot play in this league.
Yep.
And we'll see where that kind of goes. So I was just a little surprised by the timing. I'm not really that concerned about it big picture. I also do wonder with both those games on the weekend if Mark Scheifele taking draws in both meant they saw enough that they were comfortable with what they have up the middle, and they saw this as a chance to get Nikitia Chibrikov some games. So I'm kind of cool with how this is handled big picture as far as now we're seeing both guys get some NHL looks. Yeah. We're seeing whereabouts they are. I think Lambo's close, but not quite there. Like I don't think he's an impact player right now. So it's part of fine. Yeah, have him go down in the A and be ready. And it's nice to know that you have a guy you could call up that could take a couple more strides in a month or two and see where that is. Nikitia Chibrikov, obviously a guy that's made quite the name for himself in this market. A mix of that pest that I think everyone really appreciates with some scoring touch.
Yep.
We see him get the 8th goal in this one. Just cool to see. Again, it's one of those things I don't have strong opinions of right now, though I'll say this. I'm not convinced Brad Lambert and Nikitia Chibrikov are necessarily the worst forwards on this team.
Who would you say is the worst forward on the team?
Well, I mean, I guess it'd be like Morgan Barron, Gus type guys.
Yeah.
Like those are guys that like basically what I'm trying to tell you here is if Nikitia Chibrikov comes in here and has a stretch, I don't see why he can't play in that bottom six moving forward. Yeah. He's not a guy like the one thing with Lambert, and I understand this is Lambert, you're looking at potentially being a top 6 impact scorer in this league eventually.
Yep.
And we know that this team is very frigid when it comes to their lineup decisions. Nikitia Chibrikov is not. Nikitia Chibrikov is likely going to be a bottom 6 guy who pisses people off, chips in offensively, and just can play the sport hard. If he has a good stretch here, there's no reason I don't think he should be involved in deepening this team out offensively.
So you're saying he should take Mason Appleton's spot with Adam Lowry and Nito Niederreiter.
No,
That's what I'm hearing.
I didn't say that.
No? Okay, I'll say that. I'll say it.
I'm going where JC's going with keeping Chib in for Morgan Barron on the 4th line.
Yeah. Kapari, Barron.
It's one game. It's one game. Chibrikov could fall off. I'm not even sure for sure he's a bona fide NHLer right now.
Yeah.
Like what you saw from him. And I think this is an interesting comp, actually, from Zuch 40s. Chibrikov is what we wanted from a Brendan Lemieux.
Yeah.
Remember the hype around Brendan Lemieux?
Great. Yep. Yeah, that is a great comparison. That's the game that he should be bringing if he's going to be successful at the NHL level.
And there's been a lot of Chibi love. Toronto Sports Network says Chibi love, that kid kicked ass. Matt Rothman said earlier Chibrikov is so him. Julien Labossiere said, Chibi looked good, but man, him and Lambo could not have gotten more different versions around them. And that's an interesting
Very
part, too,
true.
is like, yeah, we saw the Jets at their best for Chibrikov's night tonight. And I think that's a great point from Julian as well.
It looks like I've got the backing of our Twitch chat here. We've got HL Living Loco. Chibi could bump Mason, and Mason's a decent guy. Zero Ghost 8
Not
is
going
saying
there
it
yet.
with me. I'll take that too. Yeah. Hey, look at that. I'm just saying.
Hey, the thing with the chat, and I get why, everyone wants to upgrade on Mason Appleton and use the Lowry line as a scoring line. Let's chill out on the kids being the ones to do it. If you want to go upgrade on the guy outside, I think it's a big ask for Nikitia Chibrikov.
Well, I want Kyle Connor there, but I've been told that that's not allowed. So I'm trying something else.
So, yeah. Also, a lot of love for Ville Heinola on this night, which obviously warms my heart. Be still. And I'm trying to find it here, but I believe it was Toronto Sports Network had him as the second best Winnipeg Jets defender today. I saw Fox was talking about Heinola looking more confident tonight with the puck. What did you see from Ville?
Yeah, this was much more in line with what we kind of expect from Ville Heinola now that he's getting comfortable playing games. You know, we got a little bit worried, I got a little bit worried when he sat out that other game, but, you know, you were able to kind of let us know that was always kind of the plan. They were just giving him some time to catch his breath a little bit, to rest up that, you know, from coming back from that injury. And he responded real well tonight. He looked, real comfortable out there. Had an absolute great breakout pass. I think that was back in the first period. He just, he looked real comfortable, and I really liked what I saw from Ville.
Yeah, talked about it last show, and obviously I think it played into the uproar too. Is I thought Ville had really taken a step in that Saturday game, and we've seen this every single time with Ville Heinola that I've felt in years past. The first couple of games for him are real tough, and that's a skill set you do gotta learn. First impressions matter, and in sports they probably matter a little bit more than you'd like to believe, because the first thing, and it's the thing people remember, human nature kicks in and it kills you. But thought he had really settled in for that Saturday game. Now Boston, a better opponent. Was it the first goal or second goal? He creates the outlet pass. I think confidence is the right word. You can see when Ville Heinola is confident, he's holding on to the puck longer rather than just throwing it away. He's looking to make a play with it, even if it means he's going to get hit. So he's looking to draw a checker, which is going to open up his line mates. There was another one of those plays in the neutral zone today that I kind of talked about compared to that Kupari one a few games back. And again, I think two things are true here, because this was a game, obviously, Adam Lowry steps up, Stan steps up, and there's a lot of talk in the chat, and there will be a lot of talk in the market about the need of a fighter. And I get Stan has that over at Heinola, and I think the Winnipeg Jets could use a size component on the decoy. But I think where Heinola's game has gone the last two games, let's not stop and start it. It was planned based on what I was told for Sunday, and I'm glad to see he gets right back in there today.
Yep.
And takes another step. I want to see. I think we've taken 2 steps forward here. I think the confidence is there. The puck moving's there. Yeah, he's going to get ran over sometimes. Yeah, the poor battles aren't going to look great at sometimes. I think he's done a very good job of bouncing back into the defensive position.
Yep.
And we'll see where this goes. It's a stretch where, the record's been frustrating. But you've seen some positives from the youth. You're getting some guys back still that are big contributors to this. Not a bad spot to be in, man. Not a bad spot. As frustrating as some of the stuff goes. You know what I'm going to say, actually? I think the chat has to thank me, because every single day that I decide to make a long Twitter thread talking about the problems with the Winnipeg Jets formula and the top line and the third line. The top line, I kid you not, every single game after, they do something like this. So maybe I should start doing it every day and just pissing everybody off, because it would be annoying. But it seems to work. They seem to like sticking it to me.
Yeah, no, they're helping. You know, they're seeing that you're helping. I mean, they're like, oh, that's what we have to do, and then they do it. With the Heinola thing, just kind of looking at the way things are projecting, if he's going to keep playing the way that he's playing at a fairly reasonable rate, like they're not going to give him too many nights off for quote unquote load management or whatever. If he's going to be consistently playing and playing at this type of level, is he now the third right defenseman? Like, is that on his offside, he may have kind of locked up that spot.
I think they're going to keep running him there. It is interesting that that's become a competition between him and Colin Miller. Yeah, I guess you could say he's got the leg up on it right now. It's not something I would be doing, but hey, in that framework, I think you're on the right ball here.
Which gives you a little bit of flexibility in the rest of the lineup as well in terms of injuries, things happening mid-game, guys getting tossed, whatever. Having that other he can go on either side. It's not the worst thing.
Yeah, and on the Heinola stuff, HH Living Local, Harrison says, Heinola's long passing alone is worth keeping him in it. And the ability of this Winnipeg Jets team to stretch through the neutral zone definitely shouldn't be taken lightly. As we know, when the Winnipeg Jets win the neutral zone and are able to press things the other way, it's a big part of this team turning things over. So I think that's a good point there as well.
Yeah, they can either win it or they can avoid it entirely with Heinola. It's great.
Donnie Fester, Chibi was struggling to pay rent, so he needed a few days of show money. and that is an aspect that does matter to these guys over the course of the season. Brad Lambert collects NHL money for, 4 games and about a week up. Chibrikov doing it right now. That's not nothing for those guys. I mean, that's like they're making 10% of what they would in the NHL when they're down with the Moose. Like, that's a big holiday bonus for the fellas.
Yeah, absolutely. And that stuff plays into certain decisions, right? Lambert's been up getting an NHL check for a while. They're comfortable with Scheifele at center. Now you come up and bring one of the bring one of the wingers up. It makes sense.
It definitely does. Something I'm intrigued by as well. Zuch says, I'm starting to think that Arneal is actually attempting load management. Explains a lot of decisions. I don't know if I believe it. I think he's got set spots for certain guys, and I think it's an easy way to communicate that while still getting the decisions he wants. And hey, if it works, it works. And on this night, it did. Just don't know if I'm buying fully in that that's all part of the plan. Donnie Fester, Nick, Donnie here. I love the Donnie here, man. It gets me every time. Do you think we need another guy with the Adam Lowry mindset when it comes to answering the bell? Love the show, and I do think it would be fair to want something like that. And my biggest thing with that will continue to be, I love pests. I love scrappers. Donnie knows I like to throw down a few times back in the old junior days. But I don't want this team to only focus on a guy that could scrap and that you'd plant him as your 12 forward or your 6D. They have to be able to bring some kind of element that's going to advance this team forward, just because we do know that this team is going to need a boost in the top 6 and a boost on D. If you can get that element within a guy impacting that spot, even better. It's just not something I'd prioritized on its own. And basically, I've seen his name mentioned a couple times. I believe it was Zappy up over on Twitch earlier saying these were the games that he misses. Brendan Dillon. Zuch listening to me describe the type of player, if you're going to get a scrapper, is so we need another Brendan Dillon or Jacob Trouba perhaps. That kind of mold. I mean, it's funny we say that now, and I mean, Dilly, nothing but respect for that man. Won't get too deep into that right now, but he ended up in a good spot with New Jersey, who looks to have figured it out. I do think he would look excellent back on this team, but it was also one of those situations for the Jets. The money in the years really did not make sense for that type of player at this point. But yeah, that kind of mold would make sense. I think Julian on YouTube nails the mold I'm thinking about. Over on YouTube saying Jets need a physical top 6 player. Like if you can, and he mentioned a Tom Wilson type forward. If you can get like I keep thinking when we're looking at centers, the mold I want to see is someone a bit bigger, can get to the crease, can get to the slot, but can score from that slot. Can maybe skate a little bit. Obviously, we saw what happened with Monham, who was a net front player that couldn't skate. So you're looking for someone that could skate,
Yeah.
physical, and could put the puck in the net from the slot. Now, every team in the NHL is looking for that guy. I know it sounds like, hey, this is the perfect model. Every team wants that guy.
Yeah.
But the Winnipeg Jets need that guy. And I saw Fox over on Twitch has the dream. I agree with him. A disheveled Larkin would be the play. That report was false early on, but if that were to become a guy, that's like the window swinger.
Yeah.
Is a guy like that up the middle.
Yeah, that's what you need. That is the exact mold that they should be trying to find wherever they can to make that kind of deal. HL Living Loco on the Twitch chat, exactly where I was about to go. Brock. That is
Nelson.
Brock Nelson. I told you, one-stop shop in Long Island. That's still my goal. That's still my my hope for Chevy. If you're listening, Chevy, if you're listening, one-stop shop. Go talk to Long Island. That's where we're gonna get our guys.
Donnie's going to make me admit something to the good Winnipeg Jets fans that I don't want to be admitting because of how much of a rival this guy is. But to my point, Donnie says, Hartman type guy, question mark. Obviously not him because the Minnesota is good. But that type of player, and that type of player excites me, I got to say. If the Winnipeg Jets could acquire a guy like that.
Yeah, a guy like that, just not him.
Yeah. Julian Labossiere makes a great joke over on YouTube of me describing the ideal centerman that everybody is wanting. Says at Top Line Media, dime a dozen player right there, right behind Impact Top 4 Hannity. They grow on trees, and yeah, like I'm talking about the angel, the big swing that's probably not coming. But if you could get someone that tick those boxes. Great. But I don't see that being the case. Every team's looking for it. I'm just mapping out the perfect archetype. Lucas Trapp, again, knows how to troll me. Is Ben Sherrod available? I imagine he is, but please do not bring that guy home. Jamie Bennett, no thank you. Donnie says after saying Hartman's the type of guy, an MMJHL Nick Lynham type player. Exactly. Guys like Connor Garland, guys like Matt Hartman, guys I could relate to. Love it. Love it.
One. Yep, absolutely.
Where do we want to go from here? DB204 says, if Chibi continues efforts like that, he'll be looking for a house. And I saw Toronto Sports Network said Chibi did not play his last NHL game in a row tonight. Both things I agree with. What do you expect? What do we think is going to happen with Nikitia Chibrikov here?
I think it's all going to come down to how long Ehlers is out, right? So he's skating on his own right now with the team. Not with the team, on his own. First time he's been skating, which is a good sign, but it's still not with the main group. So that's what it's really going to come down to. If it's still a real extended time that Ehlers is going to be away, I think Chibrikov is up for a bit, and then they may audition a different guy from the Moose coming up who's having a good streak. If it's a short run, I think it's just Chibi until Ehlers comes back, and then he goes down. I don't think he's going to stay up past that point, unfortunately, unless he goes on a heater, right? If he makes himself undeniable where he has to play, that's a different story. But I have a hard time seeing the coaching staff moving out one of the established players on the roster to slot Nikitia Chibrikov in if everyone is healthy.
An exciting name just came up, and I'm going to go to it right away, and this name does seem available. But to just finish up the Chibi stuff, Julian Labossiere on the Money Talk, HL salary on an ELC is $82,500. Lambo and Chibi are just under $900K NHL salary, so like 10 to 11x the money. So those boys got to be happy with their Christmas. And how much that spending just got easier for the fellas. Turd also what's that?
Oh, sorry. Turd makes a great point. Chibs can probably stay even longer if Gus is hurt, which is if Ehlers does come back ahead of schedule, there may still be a spot on the roster there depending on how Gus is, and hopefully he's okay.
Turd also says, based on my description, Nick is calling for PLD back in Winnipeg. Isn't that funny? I'm expecting Chibrikov to get the stretch here until Ehlers is back, and then we'll see. I'm expecting him to get sent down. I think this team will go with the easy choice, the lack of messing up
friction.
anything waiver-wise or anything choice. Like, the one thing I don't understand, because you could keep a Chibrikov around and not even commit to him being full-time in the lineup. At what point are they going to make a decision on Dylan Coghlan? We're 30 games in, he's played one game. Like, at some point, what's the point of having him as the 8th defenseman when he's eating up cap that could be going towards banking for the playoffs for an ad, or just being a roster buddy? Like, at what point do we potentially see them make a decision there? Is he going to be on the roster until the deadline, playing a couple games?
Yeah, I honestly don't think they're going to be doing anything with Coghlan, just for the fact that we've seen them do the same thing to Miller last year. It's just they have some guys that they'll drop into a game here and there, but they're just fine having them ride the pine, practice with the team, and then watch games up in the press box. And I think Coghlan is going to be one of those guys who, is just going to pop in when somebody gets hurt, and then the occasional game here or there just to keep fresh. I don't think they're going to make any advanced call on him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Choices says Preds lost again. When will they start selling? They're going to have to. I don't know how, though. Like, what are they going to sell? I guess some of those UFA centers, some of the depth D. But they're that. DB204 also says Cogs was brought in to be that, a 7-8. The thing with that, and you're right, that is 100% accurate. The thing with that, and to his credit, I think he had a strong game today. We should probably talk about him. Hayden Fleury was brought in to be a 7th-8th. You have that in Logan Stanley. Hanel is waiver exempt, and he's likely in the playoffs in that tier. Like, at some point this year, you're going to have to make those kind of moves. And I think I'm intrigued on waiving a guy who, after playing 1 in 30 games, I don't think gets claimed. If it means a guy like Chibrikov could stay in the lineup moving forward. Those are kind of type of decisions I'm thinking about here.
He probably wouldn't get claimed. You'd have to be real careful with the timing, though. You don't want to catch a team on a bad night who just took a bunch of injuries, right, and lost 2 of their defensemen and see something that they can grab quickly through waivers. You got to always be cognizant of those type of things. But, yeah, he probably clears. They also seem more comfortable carrying an extra defenseman than they do an extra forward, though. I don't know. I agree with you. I would like to see him at least get to hang around with the group afterwards. I just have a tough time seeing this coaching staff going that route.
Yeah, it's interesting. There will be decisions that have to be made on the point as we get deeper into this year, and maybe they come via trade. But yeah, Fleury's clearly made a presence. Loved the assist to Appleton today. I don't know how Appleton sneaks that one in, but the patience from Fleury there to get that cross ice pass. He's going to be a Winnipeg Jet this year for the rest of the year based on how he's started this year.
Absolutely.
And we all expect this team to make at least one ad on D. Like, at some point, there's just no roster spots anyways. So just something to consider, because originally the plan was 13 forwards, 7D. Matt Hyman reminds us that in the chat, and also says when Sandberg comes back, Coghlan will go on waivers, but did Fleury force the Jets to keep 8 D-men? And yeah, that's the thing, is like they were talking about that pretty heavily in camp. It has cap implications. It also has roster implications.
Yeah.
Just some things that cross my mind there when we're talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Just when I was doing the numbers, I had forgot that we're going to have to make that additional decision as well, right? When Sandberg comes back now that Heinel is fully healthy. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting there, because if he's playing to a point where he's on that third pairing more games than he's not, yeah, you will have to waive Coghlan at that point just to make the numbers strictly work.
Oh, you're going to have to waive him anyways. Heinel is no longer waiver exempt.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. No, interesting indeed. DLabs25 says, I think you get on the horn for Cousins. And Zooch40 says, I like Cousins' ad as well. He seems to be the odd man out in Buffalo, was moved to the wing this week. Is that the big swing you take for Dylan Cousins?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you can make that deal happen, especially if he's already starting to fall out of favor like that, that's a reclamation project I'm fine with the Jets taking on, no problem.
I think for me, that's more of something I'd look at in the summer.
Yeah.
I want some certainty in season right now. I want some certainty. That could be the type of swing that you take in the summer. It could be kind of what I've been talking about. Go for the rental center, get the long-term D.
Yep.
And maybe you revisit Cousins in the summers. Yeah. I think that's an awfully big bet with how things have started for him this year and could pan out. Hey, you got to take some risk here too.
Got to take some risk.
I just think in season, with where this team wants to go, we do have to get some kind of certainty over just reclamation guys.
True.
Maybe you get that, but his contract's big too. Like, it makes it hard to do both.
That's true. Doing both is then a little bit tougher if you don't move out big money in the opposite direction. But I don't know. I feel like you got to take some risk with it. That if it pans out, you've nailed it, right? Like you're set there, and then you can really start to get interesting with this lineup. But I don't know. We know the Jets aren't going to grab the guy that's number 1 or number 2 on the like TSN trade bait board or whatever they put up. So it's going to be somebody who is either fallen out of favor, not had a good start, or is on a team we weren't expecting them to make a trade with. So I'm for those weird ones. I like it. I do.
Don't. That's to say, like, if they did that move, I would talk myself into the best possible outcome coming. So, over on YouTube, thank you. Jason J jumps in as an Oilers fan. The Jets are his second favorite team. Interesting to stop by. Toronto Sports Network asks, is Coghlan waivers exempt? And none of the D in Winnipeg right now are waivers exempt on the roster, including Dylan Coghlan. Waivers tend to be determined by your signing age, how many pro years of experience you have, and whatnot. So by the time you're 23, 24, 25, you're waiver exempt regardless of a one-way or two-way contract. So, yes, he will fit there. Free Press Ray says, can Fleury's spot duty translate to Fleury more often? What do you think of that question?
I mean, he's already playing top 4. I don't know how much more often he can go. He's been doing really well filling in for Dylan Samberg, and it's going to be a real boon when Samberg comes back to have the option of Fleury in that rotation. It's going to does Fleury bump Stanley on that third pair when Samberg comes back, right? I wonder if it's going to be sorry?
Maybe not.
That's what I'm real curious because right, we saw Fleury have a decent start at the beginning of the season and Stanley come right in. But they've trusted Fleury to play that top 4 spot, not Stanley. But when Samberg comes back, I'm real curious to see if it, is a domino effect and everybody bumps down, or if Fleury then gets to enjoy popcorn for a while.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Good problems to have, depending on your view of 64. JPix29 says, how about Ford tonight, though? What'd you think of Neil Pionk tonight as another 2 points on this one?
It was a fine game from Pionk. We can get pretty on him for the boneheaded defensive mistakes that he's prone to sometimes. But on a night where the Jets were rolling for the most part, I didn't think anything was overly egregious off of Pionk, at least nothing that I wrote down at any point. So the offensive numbers have been real great for him. I'm hoping that he keeps piling them on for 2 different reasons, right? Number 1, the more points he gets, the better it is for the Winnipeg Jets. And number 2, that also prices him right out of Winnipeg and gets him a nice, big, fat, giant contract, hopefully somewhere else. So I am the biggest Neil Pionk fan for the rest of the season.
Just to put a little bow on it, Julian looked up the actual details, 150 games or 23/24 typically when we're talking waivers.
Yep.
I do think DB204 is most likely right on how our Neil handles this until we see a trade. I imagine post-trade we see something different. Arneal probably runs a rotation with the third pairing all year from DB204. Zero Ghost 8 makes a Stanley joke. On a night I thought Stan was okay. I'm going to throw that out there. I'm not going to bury him tonight. Says Logan Stanley is waiver exempt in the way that why would anyone claim him?
He's a former first-round pick.
Some stuff on Cousins too. 23 years old, 7.1 mil until 2030. Thank you, Julian, for posting. Lucas Strapp says Cousins is from Whitehorse. Maybe he'll feel like home in Winnipeg. It is an interesting one, and it's not one I'd say no to. I just wonder if there's just more certainty available. If he's the high swing, take the high swing.
Yeah, I think we both agree that they should take the big swing though on defense over the forward. But if they try for it out there and the deal's not there that they like, and the Cousins deal is, yeah, it'll be risky. Like I'm not gonna be like it's over, it's done, we've done it, But I'll be real excited for the ride.
Yeah, we shall see. You know what? It's been a long ride for me today. It's been. It took 3 Ubers to get home from the game. I'm feeling a little tired. We've been going for an hour. What do you say we get into the 3 stars and call this one a night?
Let's do it. Do you want to go first?
Who?
Or do you want me to go?
Go for it.
All right. So, I'm sure the vast majority of people have the top line as the 1, 2, 3 stars tonight, just because of how dominant they were. So I'm gonna try to go a little bit different. For third star, I'm gonna give it to Josh Morrissey just for that pass to Mark Scheifele, just for that assist on that one play. I don't care about the rest of the game whatsoever. He gets third star just for that. That was fucking so cool. Second star, I'll give it to that top line, just right across the board. All 3 guys. That's the top line that I would love to see consistently game in, game out for the Winnipeg Jets, because if that's the top line that we get, more games than not, then this is a deep playoff roster. And number 1 star, the MVPs of the evening, all of the timekeepers and statisticians who were working this game tonight, trying to keep track of 8 goals, 3 fights, a palm tree and a pear, whatever the thing is. So, yeah, shout out to all those guys having to keep track of everything, because this was a wacky one. Who you got?
Okay, I'm going to clean up some of the chat on the way out, because, the good people keep asking and making great comments, and I do not want it to fall on deaf ears. So Toronto Sports Network over on YouTube says any D that Winnipeg places on waivers will be claimed, in which I would disagree. Now, we'll see what happens when we revisit that. Phyllis has a thought that Stan pissed off Pasta tonight, big time, and she is noticing Bruins took on Chara back in the day and wonder if the Bruins would take on another project. Fox says Barzell ? With Barzell and Ehlers. DB says 90, 55, 18, which is really interesting. I'm guessing he misses 81. But I'm going to say on the Barzell thing, sign me up, except playing Barzell and Ehlers together doesn't make any sense. Let's get our heads around Barzell plus Kyle Connor and Ehlers plus Mark Scheifele. There's the dream to dream on.
Sold.
Let's get into the 3 stars, though, and get the hell out of here. If you're still listening to this show, let me know who your 3 stars are in the chat. If you listen to this show by noon on Wednesday, get over to YouTube and put in the comments your 3 stars. Because tomorrow afternoon, we're going to give one of our listeners a couple tickets to the Vegas game on Thursday. Completely forgot I was doing this. Figured out I forgot I was doing this. I decided during the first game today. Let us know who your 3rd star is in, or your 3 stars in this one, and you'll be entered to win a draw to go to Winnipeg versus Vegas on Thursday. Let's give it a 24-hour clock. I'll do the draw early Thursday morning. If you listen to the show within 24 hours of it being posted, comment in the chat your 3 stars from last night's game, and you're entered to win. How does that sound? We'll do some social media posts early Thursday with the winner. I will transfer you the tickets. Let us know.
And for Vegas, that's a rivalry game. Hell yeah. Definitely get in there. Get your 3 stars in. Tell your friends. Send the video around. Get them to get their 3 stars in and tell them they have to take you to the game if they win.
Yeah. So you got to keep the thought process in mind sometimes. Fox says Barzell and Ehlers equal speed, and that's why you split them up. They're both transition specialists. There's only one puck. You want both those skill sets on 2 different lines, my man. Lucas Trapp says their first star was the guy on Twitch who made the Stanley waiver joke. So yeah, we will do a draw Thursday. We'll talk to you guys after the Thursday game versus Vegas. Looking forward to being there. Looking forward to talking some puck. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll talk to you later.
And before we go, JPix in the Twitch chat. Happy birthday, JPix. It's their birthday today. So wanted to do a shout out and say happy birthday. And yeah,
Good
everybody,
call.
tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember, it's a landing strip for Winnipeg Jets postgame.